Hello. So I think this is it. We have three of you, Jonathan, Monica, and Yogesh. Well, you're very welcome. That you feel a bit outnumbered, I suspect, by this lot. So my name is Tony Young. I'm the National Clinical Lead for Innovation at NHS England. And I've got quite a few colleagues here with me this evening who will introduce themselves. Welcome, Salma. Yeah, upping our numbers, which is great. Delighted to see you. And double tasking, I do that all the time. So
Yes, I'm doing my master's. I'm just a random task again. Thank you
that
so much.
you're right. You're okay. You're okay. Um, so
Oh, thank you.
Um, so I'm going to run you through what we're going to do this evening and explain a little bit what this is about, and then we'll give you an opportunity to ask questions. Um, so, as I said, I'm Tony Young. I'm the National Clinical Lead for Innovation at NHS England. So, still a practicing consultant surgeon in the NHS, but also an associate medical director in Essex. I'm the chair of innovation and entrepreneurship at Anglo Ruskin University, and in my 12th year now at NHS England, clinically leading healthcare innovation for our nation, for its health service. And on that, we do a number of things. And in fact, what I might do is just get my colleagues to introduce themselves to you quickly before I go down the rabbit hole of what the Clinical Entrepreneur Programme is and how the Dementia Innovators Programme has gone from that. So if I give them each kind of 60 seconds max to say who they are and what they do, and I'm just going to pick them as they appear on my screen. And Lucy is first. So Lucy, why don't you say hello?
Hi, everybody. My name's Lucy Dentist. I am the Programme Manager for the NHS Clinical Entrepreneur Programme. I'm based at Anglia Ruskin University with Tony and Polly, who are also on the call. My main role is around all our comms, our engagement, our digital infrastructure, and I'm really, really pleased to be working with the Alzheimer's Society and also our patient programme. So lovely to meet you all. Thanks.
Thank you, Lucy. She neglected to tell you from her job title, she's the person who makes sure I do what I've promised to do and just chases me until I've done it, essentially. And she does it with such good grace and such kindness. I'm joking. There's none of that. You haven't done this? No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Right, enough. Next on my screen is Steve McFadden. Steve.
Hi everybody, I'm Steve. I am the Innovation Programme Manager at Alzheimer's Society. I won't introduce myself and the organisation too much as I will come on to that later. But yeah, brilliant to be kind of running this programme again for the second year, and I'll kind of fill you in on a bit more of that shortly.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Steve. And next, I have a refreshed and rejuvenated looking Polly Sullivan. I had the eyebrows raised at that because she thought it can't be coming to me, but it is.
Hello, everyone. I am Polly. I'm National Programme Lead for the Clinical Entrepreneur Programme. And Tony can make jokes like that because we've been working together for about 15 years. So I've been working on the programme since it began in 2016.
Yeah.
Welcome to tonight.
When my kids got tired of my dad jokes, she just keeps quiet. She doesn't even complain about them anymore. So it's. And then we have my co-lead, my co-clinical lead on the program, Tamsin Brown. Hello, Tamsin.
Hi, yeah, I'm Tamsin. I work as a doctor, as a paediatrician actually in Cambridge, and I've been on the programme with a device and an app. And the programme gave me many opportunities, including sort of thinking much bigger about my innovation and still being mentored by my mentors who were from however many years ago it was when I was on the programme. And so I've been fortunate enough to join the team in the last few years. So yeah, get a lot of help to work with the programme and the team.
Okay, Tamsin, I said 60 seconds of, I know I could let you go on for quite some time. Then we've got a couple of other faces. Devika, I know you're going to introduce yourself later, just very quickly so people know who you are.
Hi everyone, I'm Devika, CEO of Brain Plus, and I'm part of the Dementia Innovators Programme. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, that was quick, wasn't it? She's used to pitching, I can tell you, and a pretty good innovation too. But you're going to hear about that later, and we'll talk about why we're doing this in the dementia space. And last but not least, on this small but beautiful team is the, oh, I don't know what adjective to use to describe you, Frances, is the force of nature that is Frances Duffy.
Thanks, Tony. Hi, so I'm Frances, and I developed 6D dementia, which I'll tell you about whenever we come on to it. And I am from the first cohort of the Northern Ireland entrepreneurs, because originally it was people in England, and then we've moved to Northern Ireland, and I think you're in Scotland. So yeah, and I'll tell you a bit more about what I'm doing later. Thank you.
Excellent. And Frances is incredible. Wait till you hear her story. Right, so let's get started, shall we? So what is the Clinical Entrepreneur Programme? Why are we doing it? And why are you on here? Well, hopefully we'll find that out soon. This started around 10 years ago. In fact, this year we'll be going to our 10th year for the Clinical Entrepreneur Programme, when junior doctors weren't really given the option to be entrepreneurs and try and change healthcare through entrepreneurship. They were being told, be doctors or be entrepreneurs. You cannot be both. And so they were quitting and resigning and leaving. And that's crazy, isn't it? Because some of our brightest talent was saying, well, this isn't inclusive for us. We can't stay. We can't go part-time and transform healthcare through innovation and entrepreneurship. We just have to leave. So I was asked to do something about that by Sir Bruce Keir, the National Medical Director. Long story short, here we are coming into year 10. We developed a workforce development program, got the system blessing and permission to say, you can be a clinician and an academic. You can be a clinician and a leader. You can be a clinician and a teacher. And you can be a clinician and a, frontline researcher if you want. Now you can be a clinician and an innovator and an entrepreneur. And one of the ways you can do that is by joining the NHS Clinical Entrepreneur Programme. So we started initially with what were then called junior doctors, now called resident doctors, expanded it quickly across all clinical staff in the NHS, then started including non-clinical staff. We had always wanted to include patients on the programme, and it had certainly been in my sights from day one. But for also, if you knew what it was like to work, I mean, honestly, 10 years ago, I looked like a teenager. I was youthful and not a care in the world. 10 years at NHS England, and I looked like Benjamin Button when he was young. I think that's the reverse. It's been a long time since I saw that film. Honestly, old and wrinkled and shriveled and all those things. But actually a passion still in my heart and a drive to make a difference. And then the opportunity and the relation came along with the Alzheimer's Society to actually focus down what we learned and see if we could do something different in dementia care, dementia kind of innovation in this space. But first of all, what does the program offer? Well, the Clinical Entrepreneur Programme and the Dementia Innovator Programme is very similar, but it has some added bonuses as well, which we'll talk about. Gave you a commercial coach and mentor, someone who could help you with your stage and your idea and would look differently. We have over 250 of those on our books, and they might be members of the House of Lords or board executives in FTSE companies, or there may be people who've done social enterprises or charities or academics or leaders in some way. They could have run their own small business. We have a number of those because the nuts and bolts of that is all pretty much the same, to be honest. And so a whole range of commercial coaches, and some from the NHS, so public sector, charity, private sector too. If you're in training in the National Health Service, we can help you go part-time for training. We provide a whole load of educational days. We call them pit stops. The reason we call them that is because I think if you're trying to be an innovator in the National Health Service, you're a bit like a Formula One car doing laps on a track. You go out, you run your experiments, running around the racetrack of the NHS, trying to find a way to make it work. And then we bring you in, check under your bonnet, give you some fuel for your engine to send you back on rejuvenate you so you're in the best shape you could possibly be. And because you're trying to transform patient care through innovation and entrepreneurship. So commercial coach and mentor, educational days, about 8 of those a year we host. Many are all available online as well as in person. The in-person ones are great. You'll hear about those. We hold a whole load of industry days too, where we go to a specific organization that may want to teach us about branding and marketing or digital or legal or regulatory or something like that. Then we help you test and trial your product. We have or innovation. We have a sister program called the Insights program, which helps us do that. 18 NHS trusts working together to drive innovation forward. I have no money, okay? There's not a big magic money tree or whatever it was Theresa May called it. And therefore we work in partnership with people to try and do it. But I know where all the pockets of money are buried now. And that doesn't matter whether it's in Innovate UK, which is the government's innovation agency, or the National Institute of Health Research, or charities, or foundations, private sector funding from angels or venture capitalists or institutional investors and others. We've built great relationships, so we know where the money is and how you can access it. And then we've got pretty successful. I'll come on to that and how we help you, gain funding. And then there are some international events that we go to occasionally. Not just in Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales, but we do go there each year. But occasionally when I'm invited on visits on behalf of the NHS internationally, we open those invites up to others to come and join us too. But really it's the power of the network. It's the power of bringing a whole load of like-minded people with similar values together who want to transform healthcare through innovation and entrepreneurship. That was the Clinical Entrepreneur Programme and describes what it does. How successful has it been? Well, now there'll be over 600 life science companies that have been either established or supported through the programme. Between them, while they've been on the programme, over 200 million patients and professionals have benefited from the innovations. We've had 1,500 frontline staff, dementia innovators and patient entrepreneurs go through the program when you add them all together. And between them, they've raised over 1.3 billion pounds, mostly from venture capital, so mostly from the private sector, but there's lots of public sector funding, charitable funding and grants too that have come through that. And we're now responsible for around 7% of UK life science companies have been founded via the program, which is quite remarkable, really, when you think about it. We get very little money. It allows me to employ the staff at Anglia Ruskin University to pull together a support program, pull together our industry supporters, our academic partners as well, who help us deliver this program, where you really get to test and trial your ideas and see if they work. You'll learn so much on the program. You'll learn it from your peers. You'll learn it from their failings. You learn more from the failures than you do from I've just raised 10 million pounds and then blown it and everything. And what did you learn from blowing that? It's quite remarkable. And sometimes it's not what you were expecting. And so that shared knowledge, that shared experience gives you insight that helps this be the success it has been. So successful now, it's in the NHS 10-year health plan, as going to expand and grow this program further. So that's kind of the program and what it does. And in the Dementia Innovators Programme, for everyone's life, I think, I can't be anyone in our nation whose life hasn't been touched by dementia at some stage. It's mine from a very young age with a grandmother who was admitted to hospital and spent her last 2 years in a mental hospital in South London of her life. And we've all had a real impact on me, which is one of the reasons why it was just when we met the Alzheimer's Society and heard issues and challenges they were facing, that they wanted to do something new and wanted to try a different way of addressing what has to be one of the biggest challenges facing our nation as we look forward to the future. It really is, how are we going to A, provide care for the people who are there, but B, actually come up with things that are going to help them have higher quality lives. That doesn't mean blockbusting drugs. We can leave that to Nobel Prize winning academics and pharma industry who are going to take those things forward. And there are some really exciting developments But what about the here and now? What about the practical things that make a difference to someone's life today, where we are? And do those things come from ivory towers and universities, or do they come from people's lived experience as a patient, as a carer for someone, as a relative of someone? And then we're supported. I'm going to leave Steve to tell you about the support that the Alzheimer's Society and why they're doing it and why they're supporting it. But before I do that, we have Tamsin, my co-lead on the programme, who's with me. And she's the perfect counterbalance to my waffle and rambling, as you've just experienced for the last 10 minutes, because she's incisive, surgical in her incisive nature. I'm joking. Tamsin, do you want to share your thoughts and reflections just briefly on the programme and why it's particularly important that we're now going to welcome our second cohort of Dementia Innovators?
Yeah, so I think one of the things to mention is that we're very able to we don't take any intellectual property. So that means that I think that was valuable for me when I was on the programme, because it was the first type of programme that I'd been in where I was able to fully trust everyone within the programme about when they gave me advice, whereas in some other contexts, I wasn't sure if what I was expected or what people had wanted in return. So that was super helpful for me, but also I think the mentors within the programme have got both special interest and expertise around dementia. We're very fortunate to have all the previous years now. Often they will step forward to either give advice or to actually have a formal mentoring relationship. So we have not just that specialist expertise, but also expertise in certain areas. So if it's that you needed help with starting your digital journey, if you need to add AI to what you've already got, if you're within the education space, if you're developing a product and you need to think about regulation, there are also mentors and partners within those areas so that you can access that expertise. So I think that one of the things that we have that it's been very exciting, particularly the Dementia Innovators, because of this partnership with the Alzheimer's Society. So obviously Steve is going to speak to you about it mostly, but they've got this, for people like me, my mother has dementia. I'm really excited to hear about the fact that they have the aim is to think about a product for each part of that dementia journey. And even my lived experiences is that is very, very helpful and quite comforting to think that there is that type of technology that you might be able to access to make things slightly easier as a carer or for the person themselves. And I think that it's been a new venture. Everything that the Clinical Entrepreneur Programme had understood and learnt has been applied to this wonderful partnership. So we've been incredibly lucky to have that.
And as lovely as Tamsin seems, and she is lovely, I should say, genuinely. One of the things you get from the program is you're going to get honest, compassionate feedback. Too many people fall in love with the solution and don't really double down on the problem and what the issue is. And anyone who knows me, I mean, maybe we're a good cop, bad cop, and Tamsin's just really lovely. Maybe Frances will tell you what she thinks, or Devika in a minute. But actually honest feedback, sometimes being told no, it's not going to work here and it's for these reasons, is one of the most valuable things you can be told. It's so easy, isn't it, to have someone put their arm around you, tell you this is wonderful. I have no doubt it is wonderful, and I have no doubt you are wonderful, and that's great. But we're actually here to run some experiments, say, can we make this work? Can we change the lives of dementia patients? Is this proposal you've come up with, is this problem you've identified something we think we can really do something with? We're always right. It's not about being right and wrong. It's just about having those honest conversations. And that, I think, is one of the real strengths of what we do, that ability to be open, to be honest, to build genuine relationships. I know so many of the people on the program and know them really well, and they're wonderful in so many different ways. And it doesn't matter whether they're patient entrepreneurs. We even have a relationship with Crisis, the homeless charity, where we welcome some of their people who've experienced homelessness, about 4 or 5 people each year who've got a little grant from Crisis to help them develop a business. We even work with that. So look, at that point, I'm going to hand over to Steve. I was told 10 minutes, and look, I've gone on for 24. I'm sorry. But I'm excited to be here. I'll be cooking dinner, to be honest. No, I'm not. I wouldn't be. I probably will later. My wife will say, if you think you'll get away with that, that's another thing, isn't it? So you're really welcome. I'm super excited about this. So Steve, look, we're in your hands to hear a little bit more about the Alzheimer's Society and why you're involved and what you want from this.
Well, thanks, Tony. Yeah, hi, everybody. So I'll say again, my name's Steve McFadden. I'm the Innovation Programme Manager at Alzheimer's Society. This is the first year that we've done the Dementia Innovators Programme, and we're really excited to be going ahead and doing it again for a second year. We have 10 Dementia Innovators on the programme this year. As Tony said, we've like the network of the things that the Clinical Entrepreneur Programme offers. I guess what we bring to this is the combination of expertise from the Clinical Entrepreneur team and the NHS programme and our team at Alzheimer's Society, and kind of combining the expertise, but also extending that network, which Tony mentioned around like a key piece of the programme. And the whole kind of the idea behind the programme is to kind of collaborate and make best use of each other's resources to bring more dementia innovations through in this space. The idea was to support a wide range of healthcare professionals to bring their ideas and their products, their solutions, their businesses, whether that was NHS staff or care professionals or entrepreneurs, to kind of bring them through and help them build and test their products to make them the right product for people living with dementia, so that when they get to a point that they're in the system and they can be accessed by people, we know that they work for people and they do benefit and improve the lives of people living with dementia. So we work closely with the NHS Clinical Entrepreneur team. Kind of you get everything on the Dementia Innovators Programme that you get from the wider Clinical Entrepreneur Programme too. But you will get kind of support with the other cohort members on the programme, as well as kind of access to things like designing for dementia. So what does kind of accessible design look like for people living with dementia? Access to the individuals themselves. Like when we are doing a lot of our work, it's all around lived experience is a huge part of the work that we do, and actually bringing the voices and the insights from people living with dementia. And as Tony mentioned there, of what Tammy was saying, it's not always like feedback that you want to hear, but it is essential that the feedback that comes from the people with lived experience, whether it's themselves or their carers or their family members, so that again we know that the products that are being built and tested are right for people living with dementia when they get to the point they can access them. And kind of support from the team at Alzheimer's Society here to connect you to the right opportunities and kind of help kind of raise your profile and drive your innovations forward in the vast kind of scale of all the different things we do at Alzheimer's Society. So it's a really interesting space to be in, and it's brilliant that we can continue this work again. Tony mentioned a bit about the challenge of dementia and what that is. We know, like society-wise, it's a huge thing. Not many people know that dementia is the UK's biggest killer. By 2040, there'll be 1.4 million people living in the UK with dementia and 155 million globally. So that just kind of indicates the scale of the challenge. And we're with this partnership, we're better to be looking for the solutions that can identify some of the solutions to those challenges that people are facing than in this network of people with frontline experience, their connections to different health and care backgrounds. And actually that is really exciting, that we can kind of look at finding where the solutions are in this space and then looking at how we can embed that through the various bits of work that we do at Alzheimer's Society. We started talking recently at Alzheimer's Society about we've got a new campaign, which is all about talking about it takes a society to tackle the devastation that dementia kind of impacts on families and people's lives. And actually, this is a really good example of how you need lots of different people to come together to solve the challenges that people living with dementia face. And actually, this network and this team, and like combined with Alzheimer's Society's team and resource, is exactly the thing that can help kind of drive some of the best innovations forward in this space to have that impact for people living with dementia that we need. Fiona Carragher, who has been kind of linked into the programme, she's our Chief Policy and Research Officer at Alzheimer's Society, one of our senior leaders. She's been really engaged with the programme and kind of helps us drive that internally and externally as well, with putting her voice to things, inspiring clinical entrepreneurs and dementia innovators throughout to kind of understand why their innovations are important. One of the things that she said after, I'm going to read the quote because I don't want to get it wrong, after she came to one of the in-person events, and it just, it kind of summarizes why we get excited about this work and the potential with it. So Fiona said, I better not get this wrong, innovations will emerge from this programme, which can not only reduce the impact of dementia on our healthcare system, but will inspire more entrepreneurs to design products and services which will make a real difference to the lives of people living with dementia. And for us, that's a big part of what it is. It's actually how can we not only bring the best innovations through in this space and connect them to the various pieces that are going on across Alzheimer's Society, but how can we also inspire more people to develop innovations that can kind of work for people living with dementia? So that's a big part of what we're trying to do in our team. So we have an innovation team at Alzheimer's Society that we talk about our own kind of internal strategy, which is to get a product to every person at every stage of dementia, which is what kind of Tamsin was referencing. And actually, it's such a big scale for people living with dementia. We know that there are such complex challenges kind of within different healthcare pathways and things for people living with dementia. And we need lots of products that different families and different individuals can access at different points of their journey, and things that can kind of ease some of the challenges that families face now, but also towards that kind of end of life, that there are more comforting products and things that people can access to make their lives better right across the journey. So we've got a real ambition within the team to be a driving force behind that and kind of help accelerate the great work that all the entrepreneurs are doing in this space. You'll hear from a couple of them later to hear their stories and their innovations. And yeah, we've got some exciting opportunities at Alzheimer's Society to kind of enhance some of those as well. There's like I said, there's the government 10-year health plan. We've got some work in that space and how we can influence, and actually can we get some of these products in and across that work, so that it's getting right in front of the people who need to see that there are already things that are in the pipeline of solutions that could be solving some of the biggest challenges that people are facing. So yeah, that's a little bit of kind of, I guess, the why we're doing this work. And then some of the things that you could expect in terms of extra support from Alzheimer's Society whilst on the programme. So I said you get access to everything that is offered in the wider Clinical Entrepreneur Programme. I've been to all of those kind of education days, the in-person pit stop events, and actually the content is brilliant. And actually, like Tony said, the network is just a great opportunity in itself to connect with loads of different people with the same kind of passion and things to drive these things forward. And you kind of come away from those days energized to like hearing all different people's ideas and seeing the potential for these innovations transforming the lives of not just people living with dementia, but people right across the landscape is pretty incredible thing to be part of. So that is one thing. But on top of that, you'll kind of get access to the various people at Alzheimer's Society, so within our innovation team, but also broader than that as well. We've got a really big organisation with experts in lots of different areas that can connect and signpost you to the right people. Where we don't have the skills and expertise internally, we've got our own innovation collective where it's a kind of external network of experts that we can connect you into to kind of where your needs are. We can signpost you to people with expertise in certain spaces and give you access to, in a similar way that the clinical entrepreneur team links you to mentors and things. It's that same kind of same opportunity, but with people with kind of understanding or kind of network on how we're working in the dementia space. One of the main bits that we work with is people with lived experience. It's a huge part of what we do at Alzheimer's Society, and making sure that those voices of people living with dementia feed in through the product development, right the way through to getting them out to market. And without those insights, the products that are at market, we wouldn't know that they work for people with dementia. And then you're kind of backtracking and making all the retrospective changes and things to your product. So we want to get those voices in at every stage and in every conversation, really, to make sure that their insights are heard, and we can kind of help you connect to that. But yeah, I guess being part of the program this year for the first time, we've learned a lot already, and I think I've already got ideas kind of whirring around how we can do things differently and for the next year as well. Lucy will hear more about those shortly. Yeah, you're like it's always that's the background from Alzheimer's Society. But I think hearing from people and innovators and entrepreneurs in the space doing their own dementia innovations is a far better testament to the program and the work that's happening. So I don't want to ramble on for much longer. Pass you on to the next bit. But yeah, hearing the stories from people like Devika and Francis and what their innovations are is why we get enthused and why we want to keep working in this space to do this kind of thing. So I'll leave it there for now. So yeah, that's from me.
Thanks, Steve. I think it's I mean, it's so super helpful that you're there on the Alzheimer's Society of Step Forward, because we wouldn't have this focus on this area unless you focus on an area like this. And I saw in the chat that Monica has joined us from the USA, and it's a program that allows people from anywhere in the world, because we all face those challenges, to come and join this program and help us tackle these things together. So look, and the other thing that you said that was so right, it's about co-design. It's about listening to patients and listening to carers and families of people. I mean, I'm a doctor. We've spent the last 1,000 years, maybe 2,000 years, telling you we know the answer and we're right. Well, we don't. And you only have to look at modern healthcare and how things don't go how we first planned to realize, actually, it's not about what I can do to you. It's about what you want, what's right for you. How can we help you live the best life that you want to live? And sometimes, in my case, that's actually not having an operation rather than having one. But, we've got really much better now, I think. And that's why I'm delighted to be working with the Alzheimer's Society on this program, because it is about listening. It's about having patients and carers and relatives and others involved in how we redesign a health service that is inclusive for people and listens to them. So look, Devika, do you want to go first, introduce yourself and tell them about what you do? And I should just say, you're about to hear two really impressive things. Please don't think we have to have something that is, because these are both superstars. Absolutely. On the program, we take people from really early stage ideas, but with passion and commitment and real drive to want to transform the lives of patients and their families living with dementia. But they are superstars. But don't feel it's quite impressive what you're about to hear. Sorry, I probably shouldn't have said that, Devika, because you're now going to go, Devika, in your hand.
God. Okay, so loads of expectations to live up to there. But yeah, my name is Devika. It's so nice to be here and meet you all. I'm the CEO of a company called Brain Plus, and we've developed a solution called Isla, which is a digital therapy platform that's really helping to kind of redefine dementia care. So Isla was developed by Brain Plus, and the whole pretense was to bring cognitive stimulation therapy, or CST as it's commonly known, into everyday care. CST is actually the only non-drug intervention recommended by both NICE and the World Health Organization for people living with mild to moderate dementia. It's clinically proven to improve memory, communication, mood, and overall quality of life. And there's benefits that have been comparable to medication, but without any side effects. CST, prior to us developing Isla, was a therapy that's been delivered across the NHS in memory assessment clinics at point of diagnosis. So it's been evidence-based and been around for a very, very long time. But because of the inability to scale it, because it's been very paper-based, we believed and brought it to life a solution called Isla, which essentially enabled it to be digitized and scalable, effective to be delivered, and standardized against the NICE recommendations. But what makes Isla really special is that we've taken this gold standard therapy and made it super accessible, consistent and measurable across real world settings, bringing it out of the NHS and into care homes, to community environments where we believe we can make a real impact. So Isla is a class 1 medical device. It essentially is digitized and guides CST delivery. We have over 200 plus expertly validated sessions and activities. We help trained facilitators deliver therapy with confidence, compassion, and consistency. And to support this, we have gone and created the first ever CST qualification, which has been designed specifically for frontline care staff, specifically in care homes, which has been a real groundbreaking moment for us, because this is enabling us to empower teams with the skills and recognition that they really deserve to deliver best-in-class dementia care in the spaces where it really needs to be, which is that social care, so that we can start to drive all of those issues that we're seeing in the NHS about diagnosis taking a really long time and people waiting for ages to be diagnosed, but all of the other aspects of people being hospitalised and taking up hospital beds. We really want to kind of support effective dementia care in the community. So since joining the NHS SEP and being part of the Dementia Innovators, it has been the most incredible experience, not only to be associated with the NHS Clinical Entrepreneurship Programme, which is kind of like I suppose the gold cup that every person wants to achieve and be part of, and the amazing team that's building the most amazing programme that I've ever been part of. But we are front and centre and speaking to the Alzheimer's Society regularly, just knowing that we have their support, that they're sort of guiding us through, that they are elevating us and empowering us to kind of be in the front of conferences, or pushing us forward into spaces where we wouldn't normally have been pushed forward, is absolutely incredible. For us to be able to speak to clients and say that we're associated with the Alzheimer's Society and get that kind of validation and proof point is absolutely imperative for us, because it is it's a really hard sector, especially in social care. You have to have those kind of proof points, and you have to have those people that validate your product. So having the Alzheimer's Society and the NHSF has been unbelievable for us. And since launching, I think the kind of not only the profile and the PR and the marketing that comes with being part of such an incredibly gold standard program, we've actually seen such a noticeable improvement and actually huge spike in our contracts that we're winning, and that has been absolutely groundbreaking for us. So since we've been part of the program, we've partnered with 15 home care providers, the largest across the UK, to deliver Isla into their care homes. The data that we're collecting, the outcome data, has been absolutely phenomenal. So across all the homes, we've seen significant improvements in mood, memory, self-perception. We've seen cognitive scores improve by 50%, with measurable gains in recognition, memory, and decision making. And that's all because we've been able to kind of embed ourselves into these care homes and really had the kind of support from everyone around us to go out and do what we thought was probably unachievable. And alongside that, we've managed to secure our first ever pilot in the primary care setting, to deliver CST on the front line in a primary care setting in a GP practice at point of diagnosis. And we are preparing for our first memory assessment clinic, which is unbelievable. And I think all of this has been made possible by the support, the foundation that you guys have created for us. And just knowing that actually it's given us the confidence to know that we have got an innovation that's brilliant and it's going to help people. So definitely join it. You will not regret it. It's the best thing you'll ever do.
Thank you, Debbie. You can take a breath now. That's all right.
I don't stop. I don't breathe when I talk.
You've got this cyclical thing that the actors and public speakers.
Oh, God.
I like it. No, you can.
I need to
But when
breathe.
you're passionate and when you're committed, you don't have to think about it. You just kind of, it's like listening to you is like, I don't know, watching Andy Murray play at Wimbledon. He just shuts down that bit of his brain where he has to technically think about it and just says, right, I'm going to tell you how it is. And he serves an ace, and you go, wasn't that? It was amazing and beautiful. And thank you, Devika. And I should say, one of the best things, and we get this all the time about it, is actually the people who come on the program. Sometimes it can feel like you're on your own and you're struggling and you're isolated. And actually, when you come on the programme and you get to meet people from the Alzheimer's Society, from NHS England, from other parts of the system, from industry, from the funding community, you start to realise, wow, it's not just me, it's not just us. There are lots of other people here. And when you share your stories and your journeys, you share your troubles and the things that are going on and where it's not going well, but also the successes when they happen. They just become an amazing connected group. It's quite wonderful. Francis, follow that then, huh?
I'll be hard, Devica. It'll be hard to follow that, but I'll try.
No, you're a legend in this sector, Francis. You take it away.
So I suppose I have been on an amazing journey over the last sort of 3 years since I started in the program. So I suppose my background is as a clinical psychologist, and I was supporting people with dementia who were living at home, living in care homes, or maybe had an inpatient admission. And what was happening was whenever the caregivers or the people who were offering support didn't understand dementia, it really increased the stress for the person with dementia. Because people with dementia have got exactly the same needs as we all do, but they have difficulty telling us what they want or need. And when they can't do that, it causes distress for them. And then if we don't know how best to respond, it causes distress for us as well, but it also increases the person's distress. So over a number of years, I worked with caregivers at home and healthcare staff to try and understand how we could best support them so that they could deliver care and support in a way that was empathic and help the person with dementia to feel safe and respected and promote independence. So everything that I have done really has been developed in collaboration with the end users, with the caregivers, and with the health and care staff. So I developed 6D dementia, and 6D really helps people to understand dementia from the perspective of the person with dementia. Because if we understand someone's perspective, then we actually automatically offer care and support with empathy. Because if we can walk in somebody else's shoes, then the way that we'll offer that support is more empathic. So what I did was at the start, we realized then that the other thing was that if you look at dementia, it's like there's lots of training out there for dementia. There's pockets of training, but there's a lot of variability. And what would happen was that people would be looking for training, they'd be sort of searching for dementia training, but there was no consistent approach. So there wasn't really good training that was accessible for caregivers or care home staff or domiciliary care staff and NHS staff. And what I wanted to do was to create something that went across those silos, so that if you were a caregiver living at home, you would be getting the same training as someone who was, working in a care home or was working in an NHS trust. And because if you think about it, if you're a porter in a hospital, you need to know a little bit about dementia whenever you're supporting someone to go from A to B. But you don't need to know as much as the nurses or the healthcare assistants who might be offering more personal care. So I wanted to offer training that was accessible to everybody and was role-based. And that's how 6D really developed. So I was fortunate enough to get some funding from TechStart, and I built a wireframe of what a dementia training platform would look like. And I was able to go out to consultation with caregivers and NHS staff and commissioners and said, look, this is what I'm going to build. Is this what you want? And they would give me feedback then. And we went out to a lot of the charities. So we showed it to caregivers, Dementia UK, I think the Alzheimer's Society as well at that stage, AGNI. So we went out to extensive review with loads of people and said, look, this is what we're going to build. What do you think about it? And they gave us feedback, and we used that feedback then whenever I got funding from Innovate UK to build the platform. So I've created a digital platform that's accessible then for caregivers and health and care staff. We've been commissioned by our first integrated care board, and we're going to launch that, do the press release for that in the next couple of weeks, Tony, when we get our quotes. And we're basically, what that means is with that, we can scale across an entire integrated care board, and we can offer training to NHS staff, to local authorities, and to the voluntary sector. And that means that everybody is kind of understands dementia in the same way. And then we just got additional funding from Digital Transformation, and we launched version 2 of our platform today at 12 o'clock. And we've migrated then all of our users onto the new platform. So really, in a nutshell, is we've got accessible training. It's CPD accredited, which means that you can get CPD points for accessing the training. And we've got different tiers of training depending on where you are in an organisation. And the other thing that we have is we do online webinars so that people can have continuing professional development. So that's really it in a nutshell. And I'm very happy to talk about my experience of the CEP programme, which has been amazing, and the supports that have been offered.
Frances, thank you so much. And thank you for the kind nudge to the email, sitting about halfway down the email mountain slope that I currently have to climb. I will get to, but you know, you can always nudge again and say,
I will,
because it needs to be approved, all those things.
Yeah.
So look, Polly or Lucy, I don't know if there's anything you would like to add about the structure of the program and the application process and what we're now doing with regards to information for the program. I'm happy to do it, but I thought they might,
You can do it, Lucy, if you like.
I can do. So applications are actually opening on the 3rd of November. That is not just for the Dementia Innovators Programme, but it's also for our Clinical Entrepreneur Programme and our Patient Entrepreneur Programme. So it's an online portal you need to apply to. There is a video pitch. So please take note about how great Frances and Devika Wood have been tonight. There are various other pitches you can kind of refer to as well on our website, but please make sure you do practice a 60-second pitch. And the applications are open for a month. So we actually have an application webinar taking place, I think it's this Thursday at 5 o'clock. So if you want more details, if you want to go through the actual application questions, if you want some top tips and hints and things like that, please do come along to that. That will be myself and Polly that will be going through that in sort of fine detail. We do also have a number of sort of guidance materials actually on the website. So if you go to the corresponding program that you want to apply for, there is a whole raft of support there. So really, we want you to do the best on this kind of application process. We're here to support. But we can go over that in more detail on Thursday. I think I'd like to just hear a little bit more about what Devika and Frances would say to people who are thinking about applying, because I think that's always really nice to hear.
There we go.
I would say if you're thinking about applying, apply. I think it's probably one of the best career decisions that I've ever made. My background is as a clinical psychologist, and while I know a lot about dementia and clinical psychology, setting up a dementia training platform and running a business is a completely different experience. I would not be where I am today without the Clinical Entrepreneur Programme. And I think it's really hard to quantify what it actually offers. It offers like mentorship, and I think I've been really fortunate to have some great mentors in the program, and they hold you to account as well. So, you know, because it's hard doing what we're doing sometimes when you're trying to do something that's really innovative and you've got ideas, and it's quite difficult to kind of get derailed a bit. So what I've really loved is the relationship with the mentors, is they help keep you to account in terms of, you know, you said you were going to do this, Frances, you know, what steps have you taken towards doing that? And it's in a helpful way, but it keeps you on track, and it kind of keeps you thinking. The other thing that's been amazing is just being in a room with other people who are innovators. It's like, I remember in the first year, whenever I was traveling over to various parts of England every month to the pit stops, and I would be getting the train back to the airport, and I'd be thinking, cheekers, you know, I've just come out of this amazing space. You've got all these people who are at the top of their game. They're doing incredible things in healthcare, but they're really humble as well. Like, I don't think people realize how great their ideas are, because they were just regular people who were doing amazing things. But there was also this generosity in sharing their experiences and their ideas with you. And it was that kind of networking and just being with really inspiring people that was just very motivating and energizing. I love that. And we had the pit stop in Belfast there just a few weeks ago. And again, you leave that thinking, what an amazing space this here is, and a safe space, you know, because I think, Tony, as you said, we all make mistakes. I have made loads of mistakes along the way, and we learn from our mistakes. But it's also reassuring whenever you know that other people who are doing great things make mistakes too. And that kind of helps you not feel as bad whenever you make your next mistake. So I suppose what I would say to people is apply. And then when you apply, use that network that's there, because there is a phenomenal network. And if you need something, there's always someone who can make an introduction. Like, I mean, I've reached out to Tony, to Lucy, and to Polly several times to say, look, you know, and Tamsin as well, to say, look, you know, I'm struggling with this, or I need some support in this. And the next thing I know, there's an email introduction to someone, and that warm introduction, you know, really is much better than you cold calling somebody. So that's been what's most helpful for me. I think that networking experience. And I think what I've always said from the start is you don't know what you don't know. So just being there and getting that education, I think, oh gosh, I never thought about that. So it's all of that. It's that unquantifiable stuff that's just been really helpful to me in my journey.
Great, thank you so much, Francis. So look, I think it's over to you who've joined us. If you've got any questions, you're welcome just to open up your mic and ask them, or you can type them in the chat. I don't know, you know, silly questions or things you think, oh, there must be an obvious answer to that. If you're thinking it, other people will be thinking it too. I know, even though I'm the national leader for nation's healthcare innovation, I'm not going to come up with the answer for this. But if we can provide an ecosystem, a culture, a place where we can allow people to grow and thrive and develop and test and trial things in a safe way, then we've got a chance. We've got a really good chance of doing something different that hasn't been done before. So yes, of course, Salma, you may ask. You can ask it in the chat, or you can open up your mic.
I've opened my mic. I hope you can hear me okay.
We can hear you beautifully.
Lovely to meet you all, and thank you so much for this very inspiring talk. I think I come from a very different side of the healthcare system. I'm a designer, but I've been a carer under the NHS and been living in hospitals for my daughter and my mum for a couple of years, always choosing homes next to hospitals. So I come from a different side where I know how people feel at hospitals, and I design with what I hope I would have seen myself as someone being in hospitals for such a long time. And I'm wondering how profound, how detailed does the idea have to be, or how deeply researched does it have to be able to pitch it, for it to be strong enough to be able to enter the program?
Yeah, so I'll give you a view, but then Steve may have a view on the sorts of thing he's looking for. So on the entrepreneur program, we don't appoint ideas. It's not called the Great Idea Program. It's called the Clinical Entrepreneur Program. So it's about the individuals. And for people applying for the Clinical Entrepreneur Program, if you have patients at the heart of all you're doing, you know, and that's a real focus for it, and you're passionate and committed and driven, it might just be an early stage idea. And we would expect you to have done some work around it. People who turn up and say, I've got this idea, it's X and it's going to cure cancer, and that's the application. You won't get on the program. Now, you might be able to cure cancer. I have no proof one way or the other. So we guide you. There's a structured process and application form that will help you think about why, what's out there in the marketplace. We need to understand you're going to benefit from the program. Places are limited. But actually, I'd rather go back to Steve and the Alzheimer's Society with a big problem going, oh, look at how many amazing applicants we've got. Now, what a great problem to give Steve that is, huh? And turn around and say, look at this. So we and the entrepreneur program set it in the same way. We go, we'll try and appoint all the high quality applicants that we can. Now, some people are a little bit early for a variety of reasons, and we put on webinars to help support you with that. But it's the person rather than the idea. But normally the two marry up. So you get someone who's passionate and committed and driven and has got quite a neat idea, a different way, an approach, and we go, oh, that's quite sensible. But if you're trying to just repeat the things that have gone before that haven't worked and there's no difference, and you know about them, and going, well, I'm just going to try the same thing again, you know, it might not be the right program because we're going to tell you straight. So there's no one easy answer. It's about the human being and the idea and how we bring that together and help make a difference for the lives of patients and carers. Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, I would say similar to what Tony said. We aren't the people who have all the answers. We need people to be bringing these ideas to us for us to be able to look at them in line with all the other ideas that are coming in and actually say, do you know what? I think this idea or this person really has the potential or the background to be able to drive things forward. It's quite hard to say like explicitly how early an idea, like how early is too early. It's like you said, there's a lot of room for growth, but the benefit of some of the ideas that come into us at an earlier stage is we can get those ideas in front of people living with dementia and kind of help them build and test them, so that when they're going to apply for funding or when they're going to apply for other things, they have a built out and kind of tested idea on what that looks like and what direction they want to go in with their business and things as well. It's a lot of entrepreneurs come into us and kind of pivot into different spaces or kind of change their approach to what they were thinking is working. So we want that problem. We want the problem of having too many applications for us to look through, because actually some of the ideas and things that come into that space, they might not quite be ready for the program, but we then know about it. We still might be able to kind of offer some guidance or some steer into what that could look like for you next. So I would always encourage you to apply, but to do some of that background thinking yourself around speak to people about the idea, kind of build it out a little bit so that you're coming in with a strong application and a passionate kind of video as well that kind of puts you across as a really credible candidate in the process.
And Steve, you mentioned it there, but it's a common thing for people to join the program and then pivot completely away from what they first joined with. That's what entrepreneurship is about. If you run experiments and go, oh, that's not going to work, do I have to leave the program? No. Double down, learn the lessons. Why didn't that experiment work? What could you find that works? And that's why it's not the Great Ideas Programme, it is the Dementia Innovators Programme, this one. How can we support you? It may not be your first idea, maybe it'll be your 10th thing that you test and trial that comes out and opens up a new insight that no one had seen before. Who knows what it is? So many exciting things out there at the moment. I mean, would you believe the latest, translation glasses they've just released? Even if you said that a few years ago, you could put on some glasses that will be able to translate live and real time in front of you. And, things are changing and happening at such a rate. Who knows what the future holds? I don't.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Salma. Okay, thank you. You're welcome. Any other questions from anyone? Anything you would like to ask you're uncertain about? We've got a whole range of other support coming on. You're welcome to ask anything.
Yes. I wish
Hi,
to
Mary.
Yes, hi. Sorry, my hair.
Don't worry, I often say the same thing, or I'm told the same thing. Turn your camera off till you've brushed your hair, Tony.
Yes. I was involved with dementia at Trinity, and there was like successful programs in the community called Memory Matters. It started in England also in about 2009, where the idea was to have the dementia patients in the community for as long as possible and to keep them as independent as long as possible. And that was quite successful because the patients were the dementia patients were much happier, and so there was home help provided, and other companies have come in like Halo Care, where they can have technology with radar, or it's radar based, so the dementia person doesn't have something like a camera on them all the time. It's like it's if the person falls or comes out of bed or or hasn't used the fridge, they have devices like if the patient has opened the fridge that day to take their medication or has eaten and things like that. So that's a company, and that company is working taking on a similar model to an American company that has yeah, that takes that the key idea is to have the carer and the dementia person as a unit. So this American company would have them as a unit, and they would go on a kind of a retreat where the patient gets looked after and a break is given to the carer.
Mm.
So they're packaged as a unit all the time.
Yeah. So Mariam, what was your question in that? I get it. There are lots of providers out there. Some of the offerings are better than others. Technology on its own, in my experience, just doesn't solve for people would like it to. But you're right. It has to be a kind of a partnership, doesn't it, between humans, carers and patients and technology. Sorry, Sue, what was your question?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So yeah, these were all the things that were looked at, and yeah, and the community based setup is recommended and is most likely to continue. But there was a book by Dr. Lisa Mosconi called XX Brain, and that book was, I found, very useful. It was very inspiring. There is about 2/3 of patients with dementia are women, and so are the caregivers. And she gave huge insights into how dementia might be more curtailed with for the patient, try to bring in the prevention, because hormones, lifestyle, exercise, everything has a huge role in dementia.
Yeah.
And I found her book very useful. So I feel if there was more emphasis put on the 2/3 of women and the caregivers in terms of more prevention, because the hormones and stuff aren't taken into account in a lot of
Mariam, I think you were actually trying to pitch. I think you were having a go at telling us what your idea is. And I don't mind that because this is an entrepreneur program. So that's a bit entrepreneurial. Which I quite like. We do have some pitching support practice webinars coming up. You've got a 1-minute video pitch that we get people to submit. So we can help you get, there's so much. How do you get everything you want to say into 60 seconds? It's hard. And the answer is you can't, and therefore you have to be selective about telling the story you want to tell in that time. And I'll let you into a secret, which if you do it, I've certainly negatively for that. And they go, oh, he's a horror. Look at that name. Some people record a 2-minute pitch and then play it back at double time. So they're just speaking really fast like this all the time, and they get around and they get through everything they need to say, but they've done it in that time, and I can't speak at this rate for that long. But that's how the video comes along. And you just laugh and you go, do you really think it was Mark Twain who said, I didn't have enough time to send you a short letter. So think about what that short letter is. Think about what you want to get across in it. And if you saw some of the video pitches, you would smile the way, fancy that, speeding up the rate at which you're speaking just to get 2 minutes into one. Crazy, really. But there we are.
Yeah, I suppose the idea, I'm not sure what was mentioned earlier, but I suppose the idea is, like I was just saying about the technology, there's the radar with Halo Care, and you also have people coming out with things like stopwatches, a smartwatch.
Yeah, so there's lots of technology around, and how you articulate that in your application and how you might use that is going to be key. And you'll see on some of the information we give and other things, you'll be expected to kind of at least know a little bit about the market background and what it's like, and why you think there's a gap that hasn't been solved, issues that haven't been solved, and why you think what you're proposing is something that will address it. And it's about distilling it out. Does that help? Is that what you were going with that?
Yeah, I suppose I'm naming out all the ideas, and like as you said, I saw France's platform, and that gives all information on about the patient and the carer. And yes, and I've written like a 5,000 essay on this, 5,000
Wow.
word essay on this. So I have like my background from that.
Well, you've got to
And
get 5,000 words into 60 seconds. Good luck with that.
Yes.
I look forward to it. Imagine distilling that out. Wow.
But I think there's a good answer, like with the whole prevention thing, like with Dr. Mosconi's book. And
So I agree, and we were hearing in Belfast when we were there, and I may have been Francis that was talking about was it you, Francis, talking about how the prevalence in women of Alzheimer's? I think you were, weren't you?
Yeah, I think I've used that in one of my talks. I think it's like is it 65% are women dementia? Yeah. But there's a great Lancet paper also, Miriam, on the factors that actually contribute to dementia and prevention. So there's a Lancet paper from 2025, which I think it might be worthwhile you having a look at.
Excellent. We can share that and track that down and share that for you. Eric, you're waiting so patiently.
Hi. Thank you, Tony, Francis, and Stephen for your presentation. I have just one question. I want to know what the extent of support this program gives to entrepreneurs. I'm a registered nurse by practice, and I'm a computer programmer as well. And I've got stuff that I'm always trying to do to help the NHS and other healthcare facilities in the UK as an international nurse. But I want to know what's the extent of support this program gives. I know you've mentioned a 60-second pitch support. I've seen someone write that in the comment section, but I don't know what else you guys offer.
Eric, the program itself it really supports you as an individual. We will help find you a mentor that will help you take your innovation idea forward. We provide these days across the year. There are 7 or 8 of them, as well as other sessions that we run through the year. And it's about helping you think about your idea and your proposal, how you might take that forward, what others have done, what others have learned, what are the steps you need to take. Something in the United States that a term they coined about 10 years ago called the lean startup. And when I did my businesses, which was 20 plus years ago, you kind of had to learn that yourself. How do you test and validate your idea that it's going to work as a business? How do you do this thing called a customer validation cycle? And then how do you build a value proposition, things that people want to buy? Because that's what entrepreneurship is about. Can I create a business that is profitable and scalable? So you'll learn all that. It's not a university classroom, let's be clear. Although sometimes we do hold events in university classrooms. It's proper adult learning. It's not spoon feeding. It's not you sit there and receive the wisdom that's distilled down, because quite frankly, I don't think I've said anything very wise ever. But it's about the shared knowledge and the shared learning of others, of the amazing speakers who give the time, of your fellow entrepreneurs, whether they're clinicians or non-clinicians, patients or carers or others. And that kind of support. I mean, Francis, you've experienced the program. You've already spoken really about the network and the events. If you had to pick your top few things that support that the program has given you, what would you say?
I think you end up kind of going on a journey. It's like, I started off and I kind of knew what I wanted to do, but I wasn't 100% certain of how to get there. And I think, Tony, you hit the nail on the head when you said you're not spoon-fed. It's like you still do a lot of work, but what there's people there who can give you support and advice whenever you come up against an obstacle, or whenever you come up against something that you're not sure how to go about that. And it's really funny because I think as you develop, you don't realize how far you've come. And I think I just recognized at the pit stop in Belfast when I was talking to people who've just joined the program, and we were chatting, and I was able to share with them some of the experiences I'd had and some of the learnings I had. So I think that's really what it is you have this really supportive network who can help you with obstacles that you have, and but you have to do all of the work. Like, it's about you, and it's about your idea, and it's about how you develop your idea. And it's like, it's definitely a journey that you go on, where you start and then things just develop as time goes on. I don't know if that's a helpful,
Yeah, that's great. Lucy, you wanted to come in.
Really quickly, Eric. So even before you apply to the program, we do actually have open events and open kind of resources available to entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs. So this autumn, we've actually done a series called the CP Health Innovate series. So that's a 4-part webinar that anybody can actually access. It goes over an introduction to innovation. It looks at a lean canvas exercise. It looks at researching your innovation, then finally pitching and articulating your innovation through storytelling and pitching to different audiences. So I think from a very early stage as well, you might want to look at those resources. They're actually on the website. All of the recordings are there. After this webinar, I will actually send the resources around that will help you hopefully articulate your idea and get ready to apply as well. So while we have resources on the program, we do actually have open access resources to those entrepreneurs who are just starting out, or maybe early stage, or just need a little bit of direction. Yeah.
And actually, it's quite exciting, Eric, because there aren't that many nurses who have tech experience. So it's quite exciting for you, like as Francis was saying, to be in a crowd with other people. So you would be able to come and learn about how you could potentially set up a business and what that could look like, as at the same time as being able to have support from people who would be in the area that you needed. And then Lucy has been curated an online community hub. So you have all access to all of the clinical entrepreneurs to ask questions, to join groups, and to learn on the community hub as a kind of continuous. The reason that people talk about it being light touch is because you are part of the NHS and you're part of a very busy job. So it's light touch in that if you need to do your job, we don't want to burn you out. We want to provide you with the positive support in order to be able to continue creating and for one of your ideas to take off. It sounds like you've had several. So I think you would enjoy being in a community of people who have got those type of interests and skills like you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you all for your answers. I think it's exactly what I need. Being in a community with people, like-minded people who also want to share, who also have ideas about supporting healthcare and stuff like that. Yeah. And I like what Frances said earlier on, that you don't know what you don't know. If you don't know it, you can try as much as possible. You can do all the research, but if you don't know it, you keep making mistakes. I'm not saying making mistakes is bad. It's good in some way, but if you don't know it, it will make it even harder. So yeah, thank you all.
100%, Eric. I think that's 100%. Right, Jonathan, I've seen you popped a little book and a recommendation. I haven't seen that in the chat. Looks very good. I'll have a look at that. I've got some spare credits on my Audible. The trouble is you download these things and then it's like Netflix, isn't it? You just, when do you watch it? It's life's too much, isn't it? It's too much. Any other questions from anyone?
Yes, Frances, your talk this evening was like that on your platform, about your platform?
Francis, you're on mute. Pop it.
Okay, so yeah, so the website is the platform. You need a login and a license to use the platform, but the website really is just a little bit of information about dementia and what's on the learning platform.
Okay.
Just that's what you've probably accessed is just my website, which absolutely totally needs to be updated. It's going to be updated in a couple of weeks' time. But yeah,
Cool.
Okay, so and yeah, so at the moment you have your dementia platform. So yeah, so that platform is well resourced with all the up-to-date information. So yeah, and I suppose yeah, I mean that was a key thing of several projects, like having a project in communities and education. And I suppose the ideas can evolve from that standpoint, yes? Like in terms of, I suppose, with the NHS plan of prevention.
Yeah, so I suppose the way that we tackle that NHS plan of prevention is by, if we understand dementia, we can reduce distress and we can reduce admissions to hospital. So that's where we come in the prevention side of things. It's not prevention of dementia as such, because my training is not at this stage directed towards prevention of dementia, but it's more prevention of distress and hospital admissions and breakdown of living arrangements.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Anyone else want to ask a question or say anything? Don't have to. We've covered quite a lot. Steve, is there anything you're kind of our lead and really the sponsor for this? Is there anything you'd just like to any final words you'd like to share with people?
Please do apply. If you've got an idea and you've built it out, it is I've been to all of the kind of education days, the pit stops, all of the different kind of webinars and things I've tried to join. I've shared some learning with my wife, who's just starting a new business, because there's stuff in there that she would like to know about stuff. So like a lot of practical things that are just very useful for you kind of on this journey. And actually, we're at a really exciting time with Dementia Innovation, where we're bringing through some really brilliant people and some brilliant ideas. And actually to kind of be part of that it's worth that. I guess the whole kind of entrepreneurial spirit and innovation is around kind of putting yourself out there and putting yourself in uncomfortable positions, and actually applying is the first step to seeing whether this is something that can kind of take you to that next step. So yeah, I would fully encourage it. Watch all the webinars and access all the resources that the team pulled together, because they're really worthwhile. So yeah, I would obviously endorse it, but yeah, please do.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Steve. Right. So unless there's anything else from any of the team, Lucy, I think we're going to call it
Thursday. Yeah, come and join Thursday and we'll go through the application process in more detail. You can ask Polly and I loads of questions about that. More than happy to help. Yeah.
And I look I can't remember if we had 1,000 people last year. I think that's 1,000 started on the program. I watch every single video. Each form is read by 2 or 3 different expert assessors, and we rely on them to be experts in their area. But I love a video, and so I will, if you apply, get to watch all your videos. And isn't that what you would want? Wouldn't you want, if a nation's going to have a healthcare leader that leads for innovation, that he looks at what people are coming up with. It's like listening to a distillation of what you think the problems are and how we might better address them. And I feed all that through into policy and central government. It really helps us direct the way things go. It's hard, I can tell you. God, I can see why people don't stick around in policy. And guess what? They're going to do businesses instead or something else. You're in charge of your own destination, aren't you, with your own business? If you can come up with something that works. Right. Enough. I hope to meet you all. I look forward to seeing your applications. I'm excited. It's such an important area. I can't tell you. And everyone has their own perspective and brings a different view in what we're doing. And when we do that all together and we support you, wonderful things happen in my experience. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a great rest of your evening, everyone. And I hope to see your applications and then see you on the program. Looking forward to it. Okay. Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.